Welcome to Projects Invest. This is Al here. So recently, I have a lot of friends and family asking me, what is Bitcoin? Can I touch it? Can I drink it? Can I see it? Can I spend it? The reason they come to me is because I've been telling them about it since 2016, 2017. And this is how it went. Alright guys, so our company's done really well the last year. I found this really good investment that I want to make and I want to share it with you guys. It's called Bitcoin. So I'm going to talk about this. So what Bitcoin is basically... Hey bro.
Yeah.
I think I found this investment that's gonna at least 100 times our money. Do you know what it is?
No.
It's called Bitcoin. I'll tell you what it does, okay? So basically it's... What do you think? Well, I don't blame them because the makeup and mechanics of Bitcoin is actually very complex. To understand it completely, you must also know a wide range of subjects: the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, blockchain technology, macro and microeconomics, politics, cybersecurity, and probably a lot more other areas. In this video, I want to talk about Bitcoin in the most simplest fashion possible and hope that everyone, including beginners, can have a good concept to build on after watching. Oh, but before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and help me like the video. The support is much appreciated. Alright, let's get into it. So, according to Wikipedia, Bitcoin is a If you're new to the idea of Bitcoin, even if I played that slowly, chances are you won't know what it really means. So for the sake of helping you understand, we're going to use my own definition of Bitcoin. So here it goes. Bitcoin is a new generation of money.
That's it?
Yep, that's it. So you might ask, then what's the difference between Bitcoin and fiat? Just in case for those of you who don't know, fiat is the money we use every day, such as the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, and so on. Actually, that's a very good question. To understand more about Bitcoin, we need to compare it against fiat since they are both a form of money. Let's bring up my whiteboard. So for money to be useful, it must attempt to serve two functions. One, act as a medium of exchange, and two, act as a store of value. Now don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to serve these two functions really well. It just needs to be able to serve it. Let's go one by one here. There are four main traits necessary to serve as a medium of exchange. It must have spendability, flexibility, transferability, and adoptability. We'll get into more details on what that means in just a bit. There are three main traits necessary to serve as a store of wealth. It must have some sort of value retention, it must have a certain degree of scarcity, and it must have a level of security. Well, now that we got all our variables set, we can finally start comparing fiat and Bitcoin. So, medium of exchange. Let's dig into a bit on what that really means. According to Investopedia, a medium of exchange is an intermediary instrument or system used to facilitate the sale, purchase, or trade of goods between parties. In modern economies, the medium of exchange is currency. The first trait of a medium of exchange is spendability. Being able to spend your money is extremely important because it determines if you can buy goods and services with it. Like, of course it's important, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or as an employee, what's the point of working so hard and making money if you can't spend it? Come on. Actually, back in the day when we used to only have bills, dollar bills and coins, it was a bit harder to spend than today's world. In 2021, we've got credit cards and all these digital payment methods that make it unbelievably easy to spend your fiat. And the same goes for Bitcoin. More and more places are taking Bitcoin as a form of payment. Some of these big names include Microsoft, Home Depot, Starbucks, Expedia, and Subway. Also, with the rise of digital payment platforms like PayPal and Square adopting Bitcoin, as well as the rise of crypto Visa cards, spending your Bitcoin isn't really as hard as you think. So let's get back to the table here. I'm going to give fiat a 10 out of 10 because of course it's easy to spend fiat. For Bitcoin, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10 at this point in time. And an up arrow. This up arrow means that it most likely hasn't reached its full potential and we should see an improvement in the rating in the future. Honestly speaking, the spendability of Bitcoin has improved tremendously in the last 2 years. It's just a matter of time before it becomes on par with fiat. But for the time being, it's still not at the point where you can use it anywhere and anytime. Oh, I just realized spendability is not a word, but it's okay, you get what I mean. On to the next is flexibility. So what's flexibility? Is it like this or like that? So flexibility as a medium of exchange refers to the ease of making payments. A good example to explain this is, let's say you have a 2-carat diamond ring worth $30,000 and you want to use it to pay for a Big Mac worth $2. The diamond ring does not have that flexibility for you to break it down and pay for your Big Mac. Fiat, of course, does this very well, and actually so does Bitcoin. In fact, Bitcoin's smallest unit is called a Satoshi, which represents 1 over 100 million of a Bitcoin. If you convert that into US dollars today, 1 Satoshi is worth around 0.035 cents. So for flexibility, I'll give both Fiat and Bitcoin a 10 out of 10. Next up is transferability. Transferability meaning the ability to move money locally and across different countries. These days, transferring fiat isn't very difficult with all the digital advancements. Interbank local transfers are quick. We've got SWIFT technology for cross-border payments. Oh, speaking of SWIFT, for those of you who don't know, it's basically the function wiring, which I think most of you have heard of, and it's used when you need to send money to someone not within the same country. The problem with this technology is that it's ancient, and it dates all the way back to 1973. It's ancient, expensive, and inefficient. To explain how bad it is, it's the same as using a Nokia 3310, but in 2020. So why do we still use it? Well, because the banks are selfish and greedy. Let's just leave it at that. Transferring Bitcoin, on the other hand, is cheap, efficient, and extremely easy. Local and cross-border transfers are exactly the same regardless of the size or the amount. All it takes is for you to get the wallet address of the person's Bitcoin wallet that you want to send Bitcoin to and hit send. The address would look something like this, or like this. Of course, there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to transferability within Bitcoin or even crypto in general. But for the sake of keeping it simple, we won't mention it in this video. I'll rate Fiat a 9 out of 10 for transferability, as it has gotten the job done for decades, and Bitcoin gets a 10 out of 10. Next is adoptability. Adoptability means how widely the money is accepted in different contexts. Is it accepted by different countries, by different age groups, different industries, and most importantly, is it accepted by the governments? Fiat, of course, has the strongest adoptability, and Bitcoin is accelerating in adoption really quickly, especially by millennials who, will eventually rule our future.
Try to take over the world to save it from the real supervillains.
The only concern I have at the moment are the current governments and their level of support for Bitcoin adoption. The good thing is they can't really shut down the Bitcoin network as it is self-run and decentralized, but they can definitely slow down its growth greatly.
Nice to see you too.
So Fiat of course wins here and gets a 10 out of 10. Bitcoin gets a 6 out of 10 at the moment, but with an up arrow. In 2020, we are seeing a lot of institution money pouring into Bitcoin. Also, a lot of famous and influencing people are also promoting Bitcoin. As long as the government does not intervene with Bitcoin's growth, we should see its adoptability skyrocket. On to the next category, money as a store of value. So according to Investopedia, a store of value is essentially an asset, commodity, or currency that can be saved, retrieved, and exchanged in the future without deteriorating in value. In other words, to enter this category, the item acquired should over time either be worth the same or more. I'm going to talk about these two traits, value retention and scarcity, at the same time, because I feel the two of them go hand in hand. So once upon a time, fiat money had a very strong value retention rate, and it was also quite scarce. But that was all the way back before 1971, when the value of the US dollar was pegged to gold. This was also known as the gold standard. A lot has happened and changed since then, and I think it would take too long to explain every detail. But if I had to sum it all up, this happened. That's right, quantitative easing, aka money printing, the main catalyst for inflation. As long as more fiat gets printed by central banks, there will be more and more fiat in the world. your fiat will be worth less and less because of inflation. Fiat will no longer be scarce. It no longer has strong value retention. It's no good. Bitcoin, on the other hand, has a very special trait. There are only 21 million Bitcoins that would ever be created. You can't make changes to this rule, as Bitcoin is built on an open source platform, which means it is completely decentralized and cannot be controlled by a single being or entity. Well, actually, it can be changed in theory, but in reality, it's very extremely unlikely that it will happen. But for the sake of simplicity, let's leave this topic out of this video. So what does it all mean by being decentralized and having only a finite 21 million Bitcoin? It makes a strong hedge against inflating assets such as fiat. The more fiat inflates, the more Bitcoin's value would rise. For scarcity and value retention, Bitcoin gets a solid 10 out of 10. Fiat gets a 6 out of 10 and a down arrow, as I see their problems getting worse in the future. On to the final category is security. This is actually a huge topic and I can go on for hours, but again, for the sake of simplicity, I'll focus on two types of security. One is counterfeit and the second one is theft. According to the US Department of Treasury, there is an estimate of 70 million USD of counterfeit bills in circulation. In proportional to, real money, that number is not too significant, but still, fake money should not exist at all. As for Bitcoin, you can't fake a Bitcoin. It's fundamentally and technically impossible. I'm not sure how to explain this better, but it's as impossible as asking a human being to meditate in air. The issues of theft via hacking in the crypto world has been a problem in the last few years, but I want to make a clear point. Your cryptos can only be hacked if it is stored online. Chances are, if your Bitcoin got hacked before, you stored it on some exchange or broker. There are actually many offline solutions out there. As long as your Bitcoin is offline, you're hack-free. Fiat, of course, is technically 100% safe. If a bank was hacked, they probably wouldn't even tell you, and they would just absorb the damage. So really the only way to steal is a full-on physical robbery. So I'm giving Fiat a 7 out of 10. While your funds are perfectly safe, counterfeits are definitely a concern. And we still haven't gone to the issues of using fiat for illegal transactions, which of course is a topic for another video. I'll give Bitcoin a 7 out of 10 as well, but with an up arrow. No issues here with counterfeits, but the market still needs to mature to ensure everyone is aware of hackers that can steal your money with technology. I see security of Bitcoin improving with time and market maturation. So we've done a pretty in-depth comparison between fiat and Bitcoin. But what does this all mean? Some people try to compare Bitcoin to stocks, gold, or other commodities, but it's really none of those. It's simply just a form of money, and it's really good money because it can do most of the things that fiat does, but better, faster, stronger. Most importantly, it can't be controlled and manipulated by the government. Now that we know Bitcoin is basically a form of money, I know what most of you want to ask next. Should I buy it? Should I buy Bitcoin? Look, I've always been bullish on Bitcoin ever since 2016. Here's my bullish case on it. Bitcoin seems to be constructed to correct all the flaws of a traditional fiat money. Number one, it was created in 2009, the same year that the Fed started to print billions of US dollars into the market to save the economy from the 2008 financial crisis. Number two, since the Fed and other central banks started to print money endlessly for the last 12 years, inflation has become a real problem as there's so much more money in the world. Bitcoin is constructed exactly the opposite way. It's only designed to have 21 million pieces and cannot be manipulated by anyone. Number three, Bitcoin was created using blockchain technology, which basically promotes both transparency and privacy at the same time. Transparency meaning that each Bitcoin's past whereabouts will be tracked on the Bitcoin blockchain, and privacy meaning that the Bitcoin owner's identity is unknown and protected even when transacting. Fiat lacks this transparency, which is the reason for money laundering and criminal activities. And fiat lacks the privacy as basically the government or powerful individuals can easily check how much wealth you have. There's actually a lot more to talk about, but I think you get my point. It's like whoever made this thing saw all these problems with fiat money and decided to create something to battle against it. It's as if Bitcoin was created to serve justice.
And I'm gonna stop you.
So yeah, definitely you should buy Bitcoin. The fundamentals are strong, and as long as nothing I said in this video changes, it's a buy for me no matter at what price. Oh shit, I forgot to cover my ass. I'm no financial advisor, by the way. I'm just a huge crypto enthusiast, and what I said just now is only my opinion. Well, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please remember to like it and subscribe to our channel. I'll try my best to make more videos in the future. My goal is to try and bridge the gap between those who don't know much about cryptocurrency with the cryptocurrency world. See you in the next one.